I'd like to introduce the panelists for our investigative journalism discussion. And we have John Boel on the far, well, let's see, your far left, Brendan McCarthy, and Taylor Dungjen. John is a longtime investigative television journalist, a winner of many awards. Brendan has started, is the principal in one of the most exciting journalism developments in Louisville right now, which is the Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting, and doing some really impressive work. Taylor Dungjen is, not that long ago, was a journalism student at the University of Cincinnati, and was the editor of her college paper, and now she is the crime reporter for the Toledo Blade. You notice this Toledo Blade theme here, right? See, I used to work there. And I think she has brought a real storyteller's approach to some of her crime reporting and done some exciting investigative work that's gotten her a lot of attention and awards. So, John, if you would get us started.
Okay, how y'all doing today? All right, very good. At any time you want to ask a question, you go ahead. I just jotted down a couple of talking points here as I was thinking about this, because I'm the perfect person to have on this panel because I don't even like investigative reporting. I was telling my boss that the other day. I'd rather make people feel good than make people feel mad. But that, unfortunately, there are very few reasons left to watch local TV news anymore, because I can get everything on here. And I don't even have to go to the station website or the Courier website anymore. I can go to Twitter. And the people I follow are breaking the news, and I get everything on this device. So the few things left, the reasons to watch local news, the business I'm in, are investigative reporting, enterprise stories, things that you're coming up with that nobody else has, that you're breaking. Another reason to watch is the storytelling experience. We have the beautiful ability in TV to take you through an emotional experience. And I had a consultant recently, he had a really profound observation. He was talking about, in storytelling, he was talking about how, why do we watch reruns? And I said, oh, that's a good question, because I don't even like reruns. Well, why do you watch a movie a second, third time, or a show when you know what's going to happen? It's because of the feeling you get. You want to get that feeling back. You want to be scared, so you watch Jaws again. You want to cry, so you watch The Notebook again. You know what's going to happen. So the storytelling experience, so his point was that we need to structure our stories, determine ahead of time how we want to make people feel, and then get them there. Well, you really can't do that, and I got a huge fight with the guy, because you really can't do that in investigative reporting if you're going to be fair. But there's something to that. I really agree with that. And good investigative reporting, like I don't necessarily agree with getting results. Like when you apply for awards, enter awards competitions in investigative reporting, I always ask for evidence of the results you got. Our slogan at WAVE used to be investigating the problem, getting results. I don't necessarily believe that good investigative reporting has to get results, because that suggests you've got an agenda. And I don't think we should have an agenda going into this thing. I don't have my stuff written ahead of time. Oftentimes the promotions people are really upset with me, because even in the last few days before something's going to air, I don't really know exactly which angles it's going to go and all that. I'm still putting it together and looking into things, coming up with different observations. So anyway, so if investigative reporting is one of the few reasons left to watch local news, then I think the kind that I engage in is where the strength is in the video. And I think we've all seen here this past week, the strength is in the video, always. The Ray Rice story. That story got out ahead of time. The police report was very explicit about what went on, but when we saw the video, totally different situation. I can go out and do spreadsheet analysis, database reporting on the hot drug dealing hotspots in town, but it doesn't beat sitting in a surveillance vehicle and showing them dealing drugs and guns in the Beecher Terrace housing complex. I can do stories on police officers speeding and getting into accidents with database analysis. Or I can get out there and follow police officers driving 100 miles an hour down Snyder to go to Victoria's Secret to buy a pink thong, which I did. Okay, the video is way more powerful. Yeah, and I just did a really good investigative spreadsheet analysis of wastewater discharges, fecal matter in creeks, and it was damning. But it's nothing like the video I got of bobbing turds caking Harris Creek. It's just game, set, match when you got that video. So one thing I want you guys to realize when you go on, you try to catch people doing bad things like I like to do with my investigative reporting, is the only thing better than catching somebody doing something wrong on video is catching them lying about it afterwards. That's the key. The story's always better. I can go out and catch people stealing gas. I can go out and catch people doing all sorts of things, but when you get them lying about it after the fact, when you've got the information, it is always the better part of the story, 100% of the time. Which brings me to a couple of examples I'm going to show you here. So the confrontation is oftentimes the most important part of the investigative story when it comes to television journalism. And the objective of the confrontation is to get them talking. Okay, I swap tapes with an I unit in a friend of mine up in Milwaukee, Channel 6, and he always writes me back. He's like, "How did you get such great sound?" My guy, our investigative guy, runs out of the car, runs up, mic in their face. "Well, we got video of you doing such and such," and beats them up, and they turn and run every time. That's not the objective in your confrontation. Your objective in a confrontation is to get them talking. "Hey, I'm confused. What? Could you explain something to me?" Don't be a bully. And in these examples here, I'm going to show you where I think I did a good job and where I did a bad job. Be polite, and if possible, cross-examine them. Be ready ahead of time with your questions. Be ready with their own words. Write them down if you have to. An attorney at our station, I was doing those child predator, to catch a predator stories long before Chris Hansen was doing a Dateline in the early 90s. And I blew it the first couple of confrontations. And the attorney who was going over the work before it ran made a good point. He said, write down what they said online, all that. Cross-examine it. Think of yourself when you're investigative reporting and doing your confrontation as a cross-examining attorney. So A, don't bully them. B, cross-examine them. Okay, I'll show you two different examples of stories. I just plucked a couple of stories from this year doing the kind of investigative reporting I like to do, catching people doing bad things.
Famous people come to Louisville for the Kentucky Derby. Then they leave. One famous person stuck around because he is charismatic, has street sense, and learned how to strike the gold.
They give me money and to get some eat.
So convincing, he cashes in on compassion.
Why that camera for?
So bold, he got caught in his fake act outside a Lexington police press conference about him.
I appreciate you guys busting me. Yeah, I'm really good at it, really good. I clear about $100,000 a year doing this.
He told reporters then that he used to be a millionaire, receiving $2.5 million in 1993 after being injured in a motorcycle crash. But he's not mentally handicapped.
My big boy, I'm just playing. I gotta go, y'all. I gotta make some money.
Gary Thompson has been jailed and chased all over Kentucky, last seen in Cincinnati.
Whenever I ask you for money, I won't act mental.
Guess where I spotted him now? Downtown Louisville, aggressively panhandling at store entrances like McDonald's and Thornton's, or waving down people on Broadway. Here he is clowning around, not wheelchair bound, on the WAVE-3 station property. He changes clothes often to fit the situation. He has help some of the time by people who wheel him into position. One day, I record his group buying and selling small white pills or rocks, then walk to the nearest overpass to disappear up out of sight. While I've been following him, he starts following me when he sees a guy in a tie.
Please help, but spare my wheelchair today and all my coins. Somebody take it.
You fell out of your wheelchair today?
Yeah, mine need to get but spare, get back home.
He doesn't know I'm recording him, yet.
What's wrong with you?
Mine was hit by a truck when 9-year-old, but I know hurt that bad, just a little bit, left side hemi precinct.
What is your name?
My name's Gary Davis.
Gary Davis?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So what are you asking for?
Money for
Money?
spare.
Money?
When I pause and pull out a more obvious camera, things change.
You're really Gary Thompson.
No.
Yeah. My name is John Boel with WAVE. Been watching you. You're the bogus beggar guy that makes $100,000 a year, right? Yeah, you are. You got a degree in speech pathology?
No,
And you're able to change your voice? I've seen all the stories on you.
that's a lie.
That's a lie? No. I noticed your speech got a little bit better just now.
That's a lie.
That's a lie?
I don't want to be on camera. I never asked them nothing. I'm going to Churchill Downs.
Gary, I know what your deal is now. Let's just be real here,
I
okay?
don't know deal. Leave me off camera. I don't want to be on it.
Okay. So you haven't been caught yet here in Louisville?
I don't want to be on camera. I don't do nothing wrong.
Is it true that you burned through $2.5 million in a motorcycle crash lawsuit?
Not burn. Don't want to be on camera. I break it. I will break it.
You can't. I thought you couldn't get out of your.
I can walk a little bit.
I know you can walk. I got video of you walking. I know.
A little bit.
Gary, don't you feel bad doing this, faking it like this when there are real people out here?
I'm not faking nothing.
A wink and a smile from him after I turn off both cameras. That confrontation and his panhandling all went on right in front of a police officer. Then Gary moved on to his next act. Thompson was arrested at least 9 times in Kentucky last year on various charges, 5 in Barron County and 4 in Fayette County. The last time he was confronted by a reporter, he said he's not panhandling anymore, not doing drugs, and he's really proud of himself. John Boel, WAVE-3 News.
Okay, that's, I give myself like a B, I guess, on that conversation. I didn't do a very good job. I kind of had, well, the very nature of me pulling on a camera, he freaked out and fled. But I could have done a better job, I think, with that conversation. Let me show you now another story, a more important story than that, obviously, with ramifications of the Senate race. They got a lot of play nationally.
It's part of Kentucky's landscape, even when it's not readily visible. Here, hidden in a Henry County valley, behind the trees, sprawling farms raising chickens, not the kind you eat, separated by leg leashes or they'll fight.
And if they break off them ropes out of them pins, they do kill each other by nature's way, not nothing to do with us.
The man who owns Dink Fair Game Farm says there's nothing illegal going on here.
I specialize in breeding only. What them other people do with them is like a gun salesman. I am not responsible.
What other people do with them is the issue. Cockfighting's been illegal for years in Kentucky, but police have looked the other way. Literally. The state trooper and sheriff's deputy caught on camera by undercover Humane Society investigators in 2010 at a Manchester, Kentucky cockfighting event, doing nothing about it.
What you have is an illegal cockfighting industry that is centered in Kentucky. Kentucky's kind of the capital of it, and it's drawing in these people from these other states that are involved in that crime.
The Humane Society's animal cruelty policy director in February successfully lobbied lawmakers to make it a federal crime to attend a cockfight and a felony to bring a child to one.
This federal law that was expanded to cover the spectators at animal fights is the very same law that was used to prosecute Michael Vick. This is a popular law.
Not popular to a lot of people around here. On March 29th, activist cockfighters are called to the Corbin Arena for a meeting to legalize cockfighting. So I put on a legalized cockfighting shirt and go in undercover. The first speaker, American Game Fowl Defense Director Dave Devereaux, spends several minutes explaining why we're here. The next speaker, before more than 700 people, is Republican U.S. Senate candidate Matt Bevin.
There is not a cause, there is not an issue, there is nothing that we believe in that we could not bring to fruition.
Why is it buffering?
You all wanted to see Matt Bevin a little longer. This is perfect.
That we could not bring to fruition if we turn out to vote.
When he's done, he is asked a direct question.
Vote to support the effort to legalize I support the people of Kentucky exercising their rights because it is our right to decide what it is that we want to do and not the federal government. Criminalizing behavior that is part of the heritage of this state is, in my opinion, a bad idea. Bad idea, I will not support.
Bevin is followed by standing state representative Richard Henderson of Mount Sterling, who supports legalization of cockfighting in Kentucky and then makes a popular confession. interview saying, "The media misconstrues everything I say." On Louisville campaign stuff. He says he didn't know it was a cockfighting rally.
I don't personally support cockfighting. I've never been to a cockfight in my life. If you were there, you can tell. I mean, there wasn't any, when I was speaking, were you there when I spoke?
I was there just for the whole time.
Yeah, and so when I spoke, obviously I was there to talk about why I'm running for U.S. Senate, and that's the same thing I do everywhere that I speak around the state.
When Dave Devereaux got up before you, though, you said, "We're here for the sole purpose of talking about legalizing cockfighting in Kentucky." What were you thinking then when he said that?
I honestly wasn't even paying. I was thinking about what I was going to say. I don't even remember him saying that.
I read him back this comment.
Criminalized behavior is part of the heritage of the state. It's in my opinion,
A bad idea. I will not support it. You stand behind that?
No, what I stand behind is people's ability to exercise their First Amendment rights, to speak about whatever they want to speak about.
Representative Henderson urged the crowd to appeal to lawmakers to modify the part of the law that makes attending cockfights a felony.
I will pass the torch now, but that was a better confrontation, I think, because he's just lying. And I'm going to read back his statement, and it's so ludicrous to think that he literally sat there and heard all this and then didn't know it was a cockfighting rally. So I'll pass it off to Brendan now.
Thanks, John. Television's, that's a powerful medium there. I think we can all agree after seeing that. So my name is Brendan McCarthy. I was in your seat 10 years ago. And I'm thinking last night, what can I tell them in 10 to 15 minutes and distill a couple things down so that you can take with you. And I have a quick clip, 30-second clip of something that really synopsizes some work we did. I am actually, did we get that video?
Actually,
not going to work.
It won't
Okay.
play because this computer won't let me save it.
Oh, bummer. Okay. Well, let's pivot real quickly. So I'm in this new kind of digital first thing right now. You know, we have radio or online, kind of across all mediums. My background is largely in newspapers, and I did a stint in television for doing investigative reporting. And really quickly, in New Orleans, so here you guys are probably pretty jazzed about journalism. You're thinking, you know, what are we going to do? I'm in your chair. I'm thinking, I'm in college. I love journalism with a passion for it. I want to stir shit up, and I want to get a job in journalism. Okay. So you're going to go out there, and you're going to think investigative reporting. And as John noted here, you know, it carries this connotation, investigative reporting and things like that. Well, you know, investigative reporting can be done across mediums, across beats, and you're not going to initially have a job, or something let's say take 3 months. Here, you know, here's all of our resources, you know, junior reporter, go. It's not going to happen. One of the things you need to do, and I'm going to roll off a few tips and things like that you guys can hopefully take into your next gig if this is what you really want to do. And I'm really excited to see so many folks here in the library on a Saturday morning passionate about journalism. But one of the things you need to do is really kind of establish your track record with your institution, with your newsroom, and with your name. You know, every story we do, and to get all super weighty here, you know, has our work, our name. And, you know, the moment you screw something up, that's your name. That's your, you know, you go to the grave with your integrity, your name, your honor. And you need to make sure that everything is tight and right. So you build a relationship with your editor. I was a reporter at the Chicago Tribune in my early mid-20s, and I had a shitty shift. I worked crime. Crime is one of the best beats. Taylor's I think going to talk a little bit about that here. In your first jobs, ask for the crime beat. Get the court beat. Get some of these beats that maybe, you know, you don't have to be a court reporter for 4 decades, but learn some of these things. Whether you want to be a features writer, you heard in the early panel, pulling court records, things like that. Learn some of these basics, become a stellar reporter first. And you can fine-tune things. You can learn across mediums. Television, learn the power of a story. I never thought I'd ever work in radio. I never thought I'd work in television. In 10 years now, you guys see it's all coming together. Learn how to be a great reporter. So in Chicago, I'm working the night shift, and you know, calling the coroner's office. I realized that, excuse me, that this company that actually brings, you know, to be a little blunt here, the bodies to the coroner's office is a pretty damn shady. You know, the body went missing, wrong person got buried, you know, and they've got a little bit of the news, so we dig in. Now, I'm a runt in a big media institution. So what I do is spend my free time, start looking at some FOIAs, public records, start walking the beat, knocking on doors of funeral homes. My editor, I gotta make a case. How you gonna let me spend weeks to a story on something like this? But he saw me in the bathroom late at night putting redacted documents underwater so I could dry them and try to see through the redactions and things like that. You build this trust with an editor so they can say, you know what, this young lady, this young guy is worth the effort. I'm gonna give him a look. So one of my first big investigations was about the body snatchers, about a patronage-laden, I think it's fair to say, corrupt company run by a guy kind of in a basement, bankrupt, and they got a patronage-laden deal and saved taxpayers' money, all that jazz, right? But these, as a young reporter, are some of the things you need to do. Number two, learn from the past. I mean, I love baseball, journalism, rock and roll, right? I collected baseball cards as a kid. But you need to think of these journalists as I collect baseball cards. The names like Walt McDonald, whether it's Lowell Bergman, some of these great investigative reporters, David Marshall. Google alert them now. It's actually way easier to find their great stories. Read them, dissect them. Join a group like, say, IRE. And in fact, if you're a student, join now. Get the longest membership you can because it's a lot cheaper when you're a student. Your rate's a lot cheaper than mine. Go through the library. Spend some time on the weekends in the archives. Look at the great award. Go to Pulitzer.org. See the work that gets done. And find out what it is that makes it great. Excuse me. So collect. I still have, it gets bigger every year, a manila folder of my favorite investigative stories I see out there. Now I got to move it digital, move some of John's stuff in here and all the things. So you see these stories, you're always collecting new stuff. I like this, I like that. This is what's going to make me a better reporter. Number three, records. Request them often. Request them always. You really, look, I'm no lawyer. I don't want to go to law school, but you need to understand what you can and sometimes can't do, and you need to really be a bulldog about it. Spend time in the courthouse. Even if it's filling in for a courthouse reporter in your early gig, do it. Learn what's accessible and what's not accessible. That will color so many of your stories. Another clip that we're not going to show, but this is an instance 2 years ago. I went to the courthouse. There was a big oil explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. A couple of folks died. National news, CNN, the whole deal. It's on for like a 24-hour news cycle, and it's done. And I was involved in some of the reporting as well. Now, I go dig through some court records. It's one of the first stops, the courthouse. What's there? Find this obscure lawsuit. Well, the people who were injured on this were Filipino guest workers. Start looking through it. Well, it looks like there's some complaints from these Filipino guest workers that their visas and their, So this evolved very quickly into a story that, actually not even a story that I'm looking at, say there's something interesting. I'm out on the weekend shift, going somewhere else, and I pulled some records, and I see a bunch of these Filipino guys. They live in this kind of squat. And I pulled the address, and I swung by on my own, and I knocked on the door and say, hey, I saw this lawsuit. And they say, come in. And they unfurl this amazing story that eventually leads me to a couple weeks later go into my boss's office and say, we need to send me to the Philippines for a week. Okay. I mean, again, to go back to that earlier point, establishing that track record with an editor, someone who can say, you know what, this guy, and luckily, full disclosure, the Saints didn't make the playoffs that year, so there was more money in the travel budget. I mean, this is real, folks. I mean, this is how newsrooms work today. A little bit of luck, a little bit of fortune. And then weeks later, I'm in the Philippines through some, shacks and found some migrant workers, and we tell this long story about how these big oil companies, through further shell companies, are exploiting the U.S., the visa system, and illegally, essentially indentured servitude. You've got guys living in cargo containers. Great story, yada, yada, yada. But it's through finding out the court records. And in light of the court records thing, study the law. You know, you should, Hazelwood, Brandsburg, Tinker, you should know these. And in fact, thinking about it this morning, I need to go back and refresh every year as well on all the case law. And there's always new case law. But know what you can get and what you can't get. In fact, in our newsroom, just recently, in the last couple of weeks, you know, this August institution, the University of Louisville, has decided that they did not want to disclose some records for us. Now, you know, can we call media lawyers and do all this stuff? Yes. Will your newsrooms allow you to do that all the time? No. Times are, you know, resources are not what they used to be. So we appealed on our own because we knew the law. The Attorney General, in fairly, you know, quick order, ruled in our favor. That's a story. But you need to fight. And when people tell you no, you need to say, you need to have the confidence to say, well, why? Why? And then keep pushing. A couple other quick things. Before you go into these interviews, you know, I think this is a great example. You're prepared. John, when he approached that guy on the street, he knew his backstory. He knew his court records. He knew about the 2.5 million and everything like that. Now, I'm going to tell you, you need to prepare a lot. You will never be prepared for a lot of these things you do. There are, and the video I was going to show is in New Orleans, there is nothing to prepare me in J school or in high school or any school for that matter. I'm knocking on someone's door at night and saying, I'm going to write a story about you in which you killed an unarmed black man and your fellow police officers burnt their body, incinerated their body. You know, a reporting in New Orleans led to one of the largest civil rights investigations of the U.S. Department of Justice in this state. None of these things prepare you. Records. I'm telling you all this about records. New Orleans, everything allegedly is washed away by that federal flood. The police department, oh, we don't have any records. But there are other ways. Sometimes we went out there with a single photo and knocked on doors in the hood. But these are things you need to prepare. Know your community. Know everything. Over-prepare. And you still won't be prepared. But please, just, if there's anything, when you start looking at these stories, understand. You go in there armed, ready to go. I not mean literally. Sorry, this is Kentucky. There's a lot of folks that are armed. But armed with the information. Okay. A couple other things. You know, some of the best stories that are out there. And hopefully when you guys start building your manila folders of your favorite stories, you'll see a common theme. And, you know, in investigative work, and I kind of came in through the back end. I was more of a feature writer and did a lot of different stuff. Initially, into investigative work. I use the quotes here because, you know, what is investigative work, right? That's a whole other panel. But look for people, characters. You heard a little bit about, you heard a lot about this in the last panel. But some of the best stories look at macro issues through kind of a micro lens. 2, 3 Filipino guest workers who were screwed over by so many companies. We're talking about the U.S. immigration policy. This is a story about, you know, I did an 8-part series that looked at murder in New Orleans through the lens of one boy. You know, these big issues. Think about, you know, these are the issues you talk about with your friends, maybe your family members, in the newsroom. Use the last page of your notebook to always write down these issues. My notebook is always two-sided, right? I got all the stuff in the front, in the back, it's other questions. You know, it's little things. It's sometimes the best stories come from a piece of mail you got. We recently did an investigation about this kind of sketchy company that sent you the water bills under the guise of the Louisville Water Company, but it's this questionable company that's actually a private enterprise. That's because one of my reporters got in the mail and said, this looks weird. What do you guys think? Check it out. That's that last page of your notebook. Always be on. Always be thinking. Play little games with my journalist friends. Hey, what about this? What about that? You know, that will help you as you go through journalism, and you know, get to do that multi-part series. Or the boss says, sure, go to Asia. And one last thing, and this is just me on my grandstand here, and I see this a lot, with especially younger reporters nowadays, do not gild the lily. We have this habit, you know, your first few stories, you want to put that pelt on the wall. You want to have the mayor, you know, with Professor Plum in the library with the revolver. But sometimes the facts, you know, it's great. You know, black and white and this and that. It's a lot of nuance, and it's the nuance that will make you a great reporter. That will elevate you in any newsroom. That will, you know, folks when your story and they see your name on it or your face on television, that's a good story. Don't cut the corners. Everything you do is under your name. And good luck. Hopefully you have some questions. Oh.
Can we wait till all the people finish theirs and then we're going to open it up for questions?
So as it was mentioned, I'm the crime reporter at the Toledo Blade. I've been there for like 3.5 years. I don't know if you guys know anything about Toledo at all, but it's in the northwest pocket of Ohio. It's like at a population of 280-some thousand. It's super blue collar, super poor. And just really kind of sad in general, but that's why I love it. You know, I'm a Cleveland girl. Cleveland is just generally real sad, and I'm super into it. My favorite thing about crime reporting is that it's dirty and it's gritty. So along with things that are sad, I like things that are dirty and gritty. My life is just really glamorous. So when I first moved to Toledo,
look, these are institutions that answer at the end of the day, or they should be. And I think a lot of times we've forgotten that. And hold them accountable. I mean, the best is just keep swimming.
The longer the amount of time it takes you to get one, the better the story is going to be. That's my rule of thumb. There's a reason why it's taking so long to get to. Okay?
And then you FOIA their correspondence regarding your request.
and it's always so great.
Yes.
I'll go in here.
This is really quick for all the panelists. Can you walk through the top research tools you use to quickly get a macro landscape before you dive in and spend a lot of time? How do you, I know John mentioned Twitter. What's your workflow like? What are the research tools you use?
To come up with story ideas?
Yeah, to zoom in, and then zoom in.
Ooh. Consume everything. Consume everything. And ask questions. And hone in on things and do Google searches on them all the time. And anything that interests you, and you'll find something worth looking into. That's what I do.
Story idea is just life. I mean, honestly, just take a different route to work every day. Talk to different people. Go to different neighborhoods. You know, I moved here about a year ago. Tried every week to go to a different neighborhood and just talk to folks. That's as far as tools, and then that's where you kind of can lean on, you know, some of the IRE and SPJ and some of these best practices for the actual tools that exist. Because there's new ones every week. Honestly, we use it, and a lot of them are free too. So it's a really disservice if you're not using a lot of these things out there. Call a developer. Hey, we're a school newspaper. I see this really cool tool you got. Can we have it? Why not? Call.
I had a news director one time say there are no new stories, just new ways of doing stories, new ways of telling stories. Just the other day I was scanning the IRE site, looking at some of their award-winning stuff and just some of the stuff they were posting, print and broadcast. Gave me some ideas of things I could maybe do a slight variation of or completely rip off here in Louisville.
Further questions? Yeah.
I think there's a current trend, at least with the bigger news companies, that they're starting to move away from their investigative reporting sections of their company and moving it towards like commentary. You see it a lot with like CNN and Fox News, and I was just wondering what you all think contributes to most companies moving away from trying to find very quality types of investigative reporting.
I have found the opposite to be true in local news for the reasons I cited when I started talking. That it's one of the few reasons left to watch the local news. Now, I can't speak for CNN, but I know that in Louisville, WAVE was really the only one with a good I team, and then LKY hired, what's his name, from the Courier, who was their investigative reporter, to be theirs, and then now they just sent Andy Trinan and Renee Murphy for HAS off to IRE school to make them the investigative reporters now too. They're beefing up. It's an arms race now. Well, great. Yeah.
Consultants, media companies, I mean, they panic all the time and they're trying to find the next big thing. And everyone's trying to be Vox now, and in 5 years they'll try to be something else. But I agree with John. You know, there is a trend. NBC5 in San Francisco, TV outlet is going heavy investigative. And what really turns the tide, I think, is good work, quality. I mean, you know, my last shop, you know, we did half-hour documentary special. My boss was crazy and he allowed it, but the ratings were really good. So then that's the ammo, going back to like that track record. He can go to his honchos, because there's always some honchos in these big media institutions, and say, see, look, it's good. And then the feedback from the community helps. I mean, I actually read Taylor's, Crime Lab stuff when it came out, because it made waves a little bit in the journalism world. And, that's more ammo for her to say, hey guys, look, we should be doing this stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry to say we have to cut it off here, but thank you so much.